Gravitas, co-presented by Skoda. Kushaq, choose what really matters.
In May last year, then President Donald Trump announced an ambitious mission, Operation Warp Speed. The plan was to develop, manufacture and deliver Wuhan virus vaccines, and that too at top speed. More than a year later, Warp Speed has slowed to a crawl. Americans are not taking the vaccine. A fourth wave of the virus is gripping the US. Nowhere is this crisis more visible than at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. We were here this week. The foreground is covered with more than 600,000 white flags, 600,000, one for each life lost to the Wuhan virus. It's a fitting tribute, but also a curious one. How did the world's biggest power succumb to a virus? How did it fail where other countries have succeeded? Here's a report. These flags are a monument to America's greatest tragedy. A tribute to more than 600,000 lives lost. A reminder of the empty seats at dinner. As you walk through this field of flags, it's difficult to ignore the scale of this crisis. Was it inevitable, or was it a failure of leadership? The United States has a surplus of vaccines. They can inoculate all Americans twice and still spare enough doses for export. Teenagers are getting jabbed. Senior citizens are getting booster shots. Clearly, availability is not the issue here. Implementation is. America began mass vaccination on 14 December 2020. They had time, doses and approvals, plus a Hollywood-esque mission, Operation Warp Speed, that's what they call it. Yet the vaccination campaign was less warp speed and more of a crawl. This is the total population of the US, 328 million. 54% of them are fully vaccinated, 63% have got at least one dose. A gentle reminder here, the US started vaccinating back in December 2020. We are in September now. They had 9 months to vaccinate 328 million people. Simply put, they failed. Compare this to India, a country of 1.38 billion people. It does not have America's infrastructure, but it has almost 4 times the people. It also has poverty and illiteracy, major obstacles to vaccination campaigns. Yet India has already inoculated 14.5% of its people. That's nearly 800 million doses administered. What about the US? Just 384 million doses. Look at the daily vaccination rate, 9.2 million in India, just 8 million in the US. The leaders here in Washington are not being able to send across a message that the vaccine is non-negotiable. America is failing to vaccinate its people, and the result is here for the world to see. I'll share some numbers with you. On the 16th of this month, the United States recorded 170,000 new cases. 292 Americans have died of the Wuhan virus in the last 24 hours. 827 died the day before, and more than 2,500 the day before that. These numbers may not make it to international headlines, but there's no hiding the truth on the ground. And here, in Washington's National Mall, there are 650,000 white flags. They stretch as far as the eye can see, with each flag honoring an American lost to the Wuhan virus pandemic. There are 600,000 flags here, but the Wuhan virus deaths are still rising. They have crossed 675,000, making this the deadliest pandemic in American history. Even worse than the Spanish flu of 1918. A century of medical advances, a century of preeminence as a superpower, yet the US succumbed to the Wuhan virus. Makes you worry about the next pandemic. Will lessons be learned, or will more flags cover the National Mall? Some world leaders are dead set on denying the science, like Brazil's president Jair Bolsonaro. He's in New York for the United Nations General Assembly, unvaccinated and roaming the streets. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson tried convincing Bolsonaro to get the jab. No luck. With a broad smile and shrug of the shoulders, Bolsonaro replied, "Not yet."
Great vaccine. I have actually. Thanks everybody.
Get AstraZeneca vaccine.
Obrigado, pessoal. Vai tomar vacina AstraZeneca.
I have twice.
Ainda not yet.
US laws give Bolsonaro a free pass, but New York restaurants don't. They require vaccination proof for indoor dining. So Bolsonaro and his team ended up on the street, a slice of pizza in hand, with a side of public humiliation. This time last year, we were helpless against the Wuhan virus. It overwhelmed hospitals and took away loved ones. This year we have vaccines, but not the will to take them. America's COVID crisis is a generation-defining tragedy. It is painful, traumatic, also avoidable. Washington Bureau, WION World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.
Gravitas, co-presented by Skoda. Kushaq, choose what really matters.